Hey everyone, it's Ethan Ormis back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Today we're going to be talking about every movie that I watched last week. We had a pretty busy week last week, and a pretty exciting one as well. We have a new favorite movie of 2023, but yeah, we'll talk about that shortly. That was my favorite watch of the week, actually. So, with that being said, let's get into this. Let's start off with my least favorite movie of the week, which is Perfect Addiction. Which is a new movie. I believe it was on Prime or Crave. Prime, I think. I don't remember. Anyways, I thought it was a bad movie. I gave it a 43 out of 100. Definitely wasn't a big fan of it. Wasn't for me. I was enjoying it pretty well until, I don't know, like 40 minutes in probably. It just went so fucking downhill, and I really, really hated it. Anyways, wasn't a fan of that movie at all, and I believe on Letterboxd I gave it a nice little 2 stars, so obviously not very good. It doesn't have very high ratings overall. It's got an overall of 2.2, so not very good anyways, at least on Letterboxd. But with that being said, we'll move on to perhaps a hot take just how low it is, but John Wick, the first John Wick, which I ranked a 76 out of 100. I think it's a good movie. But honestly, I think the best part of the movie is the first, 10, 15 minutes. It's sad, but it's also fantastic. And I feel like it just kind of goes, not downhill from there, but it's just very stagnant for the rest of the movie from there. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love John Wick. I love this franchise. It still gets a 3.5 stars for me, but overall, I do think the first one is the worst. And, yeah, with that being said, let's move on to Here Comes the Boom, which is a 2012 comedy classic that I absolutely love. I used to love this movie growing up. I watched it a lot. I watched it again this week for the first time in years, and I still absolutely love it. I think it's a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. Comedy is obviously very subjective. I don't even really think it's that funny. I just think it's a genuine feel-good sports story, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I gave it an 80 out of 100. I really, really enjoyed it. And, I mean, overall, I think it's just a great movie, to be fair, with a great cast. So, with that being said, we'll move on to, again, perhaps a hot take with how low it is, but a first-time watch for myself, which is The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which I gave it a 4 stars on Letterboxd and an 84 out of 100, which I thought this was a visually stunning movie. It was fantastic to look at. The colors and the cinematography was absolutely phenomenal. The directing was really, really awesome. The acting was really wonderful as well. And this is loosely based on a true story of, what's his name? Jimmy Fails, right? Because Jimmy Fails plays himself, essentially. But yeah, this was a really touching and pretty emotional story that was really, really great. I do want to rewatch this one eventually because I think this one could definitely go higher. I'd actually watched this. This has been on my watch list for a little while just because of how much I love Jonathan Majors. I finally got around to watching it this weekend. I think I'd watched it Friday, and then shout out to all the guys on the Real Talk podcast, 3 out of the 4 of them at least, watched it later in the weekend, which I thought was hilarious because I know it's been on their watch list as well. So I'm glad that I watched it. Definitely was not a waste of time, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great watch. But with that being said, we'll move on to perhaps a hot take for how low the ranking is, but Ocean's 11, which I gave an 86 out of 100. I thought this was a great movie, to be honest. I thought this was a really good heist movie. It was very unique. I feel like it was very slick, and it was pretty low key. It wasn't anything crazy like a Fast Five kind of heist. It was much more simple. Well, not necessarily simple, but I don't know. I just feel like it was much more grounded. That's probably a better way to say it. And I really, really enjoyed this movie. I definitely think I'll watch the rest of this franchise probably this week. So we might be doing that. I might start the next one right after this. We'll see. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie as well. And I've seen a lot of people say that this is the best heist movie. So maybe I should give it a rewatch because it's definitely not my favorite heist movie that I've seen. But again, I think it's a great movie nonetheless. But With that being said, we shall move on to next on the list, which is John Wick 2, which I ranked an 88 out of 100. I really, really loved this movie. I think this is the second best in the quadrilogy of the franchise, of course. And yeah, this is a really great movie that I really, really loved. This is fantastic to watch. It's some of the best visuals in the entire franchise, especially in the original trilogy, in my opinion. And it's fantastic. And of course, the consequences of the actions that the characters take is really, really great to see. So, really, really loved that movie as well. But let's move on to John Wick 3 up next, which is a 91 out of 100 for myself, which I think is an amazing movie. I really, really loved John Wick 3, Parabellum, of course, which I gave the 4.5 stars. Again, visually a beautiful movie to watch. It is fantastic, of course, with some of the best action set pieces in all of cinema. Let's be real, this is this is probably the greatest action franchise ever. So, shout out to John Wick. Shout out to Chad Stahelski. He's a phenomenal director. But with that being said, let's move on to the top 2 of the week. Two very close two movies that got very close to the 5-star mark, which was my second favorite was 42, directed by Brian Helgeland, with a 95 out of 100. And rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. I absolutely loved this movie. And this was a really heart-wrenching story as well. I didn't know the story of Jackie Robinson. I'm not a big baseball fan. So heading into this movie, I didn't really know what I was in store for. And I watched this movie. I think I've watched it before a long, long time ago. I think I watched it when it came out, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, wow, this is most definitely the most racist movie I've watched, which is... really, it was really sad to see what Jackie Robinson and, of course, those players and those, those people unfortunately have to go through or had to go through, especially back then, Jackie Robinson being the first African-American player in the MLB. And, there was some brutal scenes in there. It was really hard to watch and really hard to sit through. I don't like the racism at all. It's not nice. Like, it's really terrible to watch and sit through. So, anyways, I thought this was an amazing movie nonetheless. A fantastic performance from Chadwick Boseman and, like, everything he does. So, again, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman, who is one of my favorite actors. But, with that being said, let's continue on to my number 1 of the week, which was John Wick 4, which I gave a 96 out of 100. Also marking that 4.5-star spot, which again, I absolutely loved. This movie is incredible. It's almost incredible. It's fantastic, though. I've been seeing a lot of really, really great reviews and such for this movie. I definitely think, I don't really want to get into spoilers too much, but you know what? I guess spoilers here. I don't know if I'm actually going to say anything, but I'll give you guys a little leeway. I think John Wick has a bit of plot armor, of course, until the end of the movie. But, yeah, nonetheless, the scene with the flaming shotgun was so fucking sick, bro. I had a smile on my face for that entire scene. I absolutely loved it. Shout out to Donnie Yen. Shout out to Bill Skarsgård. Shout out to Ian McShane. Of course, rest in peace, Lance Reddick. And one of my favorites, shout out to Hiroyuki Sanada. He's fantastic as always. The Osaka Continental was fucking sick. It was epic, and I absolutely loved that scene. So overall, that'll be it for today's video, guys. We had quite a crazy week, a lot of watches last week, but thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.